Hello everyone and welcome to Mountain Lake Journal. I'm Tom Helling. This week we're at the Old Stone Barracks, a landmark here on the former Army and Air Force Base in Plattsburgh, New York. This historic building has been restored thanks to two veterans who saw it as the perfect place to start their new business. This area is rich in military history and service. The community here takes care and watches out for its fellow veterans, including a retired Marine who organized a first-of-its-kind clinic at his American Legion post to test fellow veterans for Hepatitis C, a deadly liver disease that affects a lot of Vietnam veterans.
So you take a droplet of blood, and that's all we need is one drop.
Nurses and lab technicians from CVPH set up this clinic last winter in the basement of American Legion Post 1619 to test veterans for Hepatitis C.
And it's just like a diabetes test. One drop of blood, bingo, 20 minutes, you're on your way.
Mike Rock, who is the post's commander, has been trying to spread the word that Hepatitis C is prevalent among Vietnam veterans.
You can talk to almost anybody that's here and they'll be able to name you somebody that they knew from that era that has Hep C.
Rock and many others suspect this is to blame, a device called a jet injector gun that was used from the 60s to the mid-90s to give soldiers multiple vaccines at the same time. Veterans groups say it was common practice to inoculate hundreds of soldiers with the same gun.
It's a pneumatic gun, bingo, it fires here. When it reloads, it created a suction, pulled the blood out of you to the next guy, to the next one. And they never sterilized them because they didn't think there was no needles.
I remember when I went in basic training, there was hundreds of us standing in line to get the shots. And you'd take one step forward, get shot, the next guy right behind you they were, every 5 seconds somebody was getting a shot. How sanitary is that? Yeah, not very.
Danny Kaifetz is the medical information officer with American Legion Post 1619. He has Hep C himself and helped set up this clinic in hopes of getting other vets, especially those that remember getting injected with the inoculator gun, tested for Hep C. And Danny Kaifetz joins us now. Welcome. Nice to see you again.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, Tom.
You were diagnosed with hepatitis C in 2011, was it?
2010, I believe.
2010. And at the time, you had no idea, no clue how you contracted it.
No, zero information, zero concept I was even sick.
When was it that you started to suspect it was the injector gun, the tool used to inoculate you and other servicemen and women?
It's like anything else. It's like buying a car. You go online and you educate yourself, and immediately this came up repeatedly. I mean, thousands of instances and testimonials. There are numerous news articles about the Department of Defense banning the jet gun. There are VA official releases. They're at the point they're claiming a theoretical possibility or something of that nature, but that's always the first step with the government. Same with Agent Orange, they denied that for a while. And the fact is there's just irrefutable evidence, and there is no other conceivable way 25 million veterans somehow are at 10 times higher risk than non-veterans. So there has to be a common connection.
Most people don't know they have it.
75% of those infected with hepatitis C are not aware they're carrying it. Now, when there are symptoms, you're tired, your joints hurt, your memory starts fading, you're not as sharp as you were. I got news for you, those aren't symptoms, that's old age. Right. And if you wait for symptoms, it is too late. I've got a good friend right in Port Henry. The VA has written him off, he is too far gone. Once you are cirrhotic, once you are stage 4 of the 4 stages of liver disease, you are no longer a candidate for treatment, and you're going to die.
And this is why it's so important to you that veterans get tested.
Absolutely. There is no way either of us today could overstate this. You need this test. Anybody within the sound of our voice today that's hearing this and doesn't show up, I just can't emphasize how ludicrous that is. We know 1 in 10 veterans are probably carrying this virus. Doesn't necessarily mean you're sick. It means you immediately need to get the full lab test from a full hospital lab.
And in your case, when you develop the disease, you can treat it. You're being treated now, and
that's the other part of what makes this not just so important, but just so obvious. When I was diagnosed, the treatment was interferon and ribavirin, and it was combat vets were refusing to stay on the treatment. It was so debilitating. The guys that went through the drugs, it was a 6-month regimen, self-injected shots. It was horrible. Combat vets literally said, "I'd rather die than stay on this." And the success rate was very low. Now that has completely changed, but still in my time frame, even when the new drugs came out and were improved in 2014, the principal one being Harvoni and Sovaldi from Gilead Pharmaceuticals, the drug companies, which is a whole other interview of this corporate greed, chose to price this at such a exorbitant level. It just, Bernie Sanders went to Congress over this.
so a lot of vets couldn't afford it.
The VA couldn't afford it. The VA bankrupted its budget in 2014. Now that has even changed. The VA has more money. They've got such a success record and they've been very successful at getting Congress to step up their funding. The VA is treating every patient they have. The cost of the drugs has dropped significantly, and this is where we come in. 22% of the veterans in America today are in VA healthcare. We're trying to get the other 78% tested. I guess we skipped the most important part is there is a cure for this. It is a 12-week regimen, 1 pill a day, almost 0 side effects. It changes your life on a dime. I am not only personally virus-free, but I feel 25 years younger. So they're at a 98.7% success rate. Now, we have 8,000 veterans in Clinton County alone, and we're expecting a lot of veterans from Essex and Franklin County. So we have a pool of maybe 11, 12, 14,000 veterans. We've only tested 400 of them. That's less than 5%. Our goal is 500 vets this time. And we want to break our record, we want to show that we're moving forward, and we want to make a little more of a dent. That 1,000 number is going to be significant. That means 1 out of 8 vets you bump into after we're done with this test will have been through our American Legion outreach testing. Here's what they have to lose. 45 minutes with a bunch of other vets they all know, hanging around having a good time at the American Legion post. People pay money to do that every day. That's why we have such a successful post.
Now when you tested the 400 the first time around, tests are confidential, so you can't talk about the numbers, but you have no doubt you saved lives that day.
I'll guarantee you, just as much as I'm sitting here. And we exceeded the national average, and we have agreed with the hospital and the HEPA laws that we're not going to throw numbers around. But you can. It's a number, and it is plural. It's we saved lives. Period. There is no repudiating that. That is not a stretch at all.
So with a curable, there's really no reason for veterans not to get tested to know if they have.
You're at risk. You're at high risk. The test takes 20 minutes. We're paying for the test. You're going to be among your brothers and men and women you served with that you have more common ground with than any other people you could spend an hour or two with on a Friday or a Saturday. Your results will be confidential.
And you're also urging vets to do it at this clinic and get it done now, because more clinics will eventually be held, but not necessarily here in the North Country.
Well, in a way, we're a little bit a victim of our own success here. I kind of compare it to a garage band you didn't take the time to go see when they were playing at the Naked Turtle, and now you got to go to Atlanta to hear them. You know, the VA wants us to go statewide and then nationwide. The next test is probably going to be in Manhattan. And unfortunately, our own success means that we are taking this on a bigger scale. And if you say, I'll catch the next one, well, maybe the next one will be in Glens Falls. It probably won't be in West Plattsburgh again. We are more valuable as a model to get this moving in more places, in bigger urban areas, than we are to continually knock down the untested vets 400 or 500 at a time.
So now is the time to get tested for vets.
That's my point. Don't wait for the next one. There may be a next one, there may be 10 more. There may be some in Franklin County, there may be some at other Legion posts, there may be a number in District 4, which is 100 American Legions from Albany up. But why would you wait? If they don't want to come, you get them here. You're going to save their life by making them get this test. If you're a teenager, if you're middle-aged, if your dad served in Vietnam, if your grandfather served, if your uncle served and you're listening to this, you get on the phone, you call them, you tell them you're picking them up and taking them to 1619 Friday morning or Saturday morning and get them tested.
So you're encouraging family members. If the vets
Absolutely.
aren't going to go to the clinic, you want family members to get them there.
Anybody that's ever carried a rifle in harm's way thinks they're a tough guy now, no matter how. So let's get the people that care about them to break down this, I don't need that. And every one of you that is saying this doesn't apply to me is wrong.
Danny Kaifetz, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us.